All right, we are live, Doc. You're ready to go.
Awesome. Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Dr. David Erb. I'm a chiropractor here in Dallas with my wife, Dr. Kimberly Erb, and our team here after 23 years. And there is a massive conversation going on right now about everything and anything that's related to this coronavirus, or if you like to make it sound very scary and scientific, you say COVID-19. I can tell you, I'm very, very, very passionate about this. And it's very important to me that the people that I love, the patients, in the tens of thousands of patients in the last 23 years, that they understand the most important conversation. I need to apologize. This is not Corona. I saw a lot of patients today and literally sprinted to this room we have set up today. So I'm a little bit hoarse, so I'll be drinking a little bit as we go through this. But I need every single person to know this. The most important conversation being had right now about health, about your future, about the future of your community, your financial future, your family, your children's future, has everything to do with the conversation we're about to have. And the conversation that should be had and is not having is about immunity. And that is the conversation. It's the most important conversation. So tonight, we're going to hit a lot of different topics. There's going to be a lot of practicality tonight about literally like shoe leather under your feet, how to walk this thing out, with literally how to increase your immunity. We're also going to hit some other topics about, just basics, like 101 immunity, how it works. I've got a great, just several minute little video of a TED talk that's just brilliant. It's cartoony, but you're going to totally learn. You might, why do I have to learn about B cells and T cells and killer T's and lymphocytes and leukocytes and all these different sites? Like, why do I have to learn about these cells? Listen, you don't have to, but knowing gives you freedom, and it actually decreases fear. And so we're going to learn tonight, and we're going to get some education tonight. Now, I will say this: I am going to hit some topics that many of you guys that are guests have not heard someone like me talk about, and I may actually be talking on a subject that is against something that you have held a belief in already. And so there's a sacred cow I may actually step on today. And I'm saying that to begin with because I'm praying that God's going to give you eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart that would receive it today, because we need to do something different. The path that we're currently on is not a good one. I think most of us agree, if you're in the trenches like we are, that there is a lot of positivity about this thing, a lot of positivity. And so let's just get into it, shall we? So first and foremost, we're going to talk about immunity, but I'm going to hit a couple things. Now, anything and everything you talk about with the virus is all virus. So the contagiousness of the virus, it's about the virus. The survivability, the survival rates, the recovery rates, the amount of people who've been tested positive versus not, all this stuff, all the economic consequences of this, all of it is all about the virus. The financial collapse, or whatever you want to call it, depression, the initiatives financially from the government, the $2.8 trillion that have been spent of tax dollars, including things that we didn't go in for. Like, you could just, whatever the discussion is, that's not about the solution as it pertains to immunity, has not gotten actually down to solutions, because the solution starts with one thing. The solution is immunity. And so let's just begin with that, shall we? Now, who are we, first of all? So first of all, my wife and I have been in practice for a long time. So we've been in practice for the last 23 years. Obviously, she's the cute one. But we have seen a lot of people. We've seen a lot of crazy things. We've learned a lot of crazy things. Like, we're not academics. We're not teaching this purely from a standpoint of reading a book or I read this study. We're with people. And we're seeing what works and what doesn't work. We're seeing trends that, from an academic standpoint, you can't see. And so when we're with patients, sometimes 100 patients, 150 patients, 200 patients a day, before this whole thing happened anyway. When you see a lot of patients a day, you see trends. And we saw a trend coming last November, and that trend was very specific to the fact that there's something else going on here. And our belief is, and as you're actually starting to see that come out in empirical data, not like some kind of theory, not some kind of mysticism or a model that turns out to be completely false, which most of them have at this point, which was used to shut us all down. But what you find is, you find that when you use empirical data, that this thing actually came through from about November-ish, October, November-ish, all the way through, which was several months before Japan said that they ended up having a problem. And today is not a day for me to get on conspiracy theory trains. I'm not going to do that. In fact, many of which I agree with, but this is not my time to do that. It's also not a time to actually cast a political viewpoint here either. And although I have very clear viewpoints on that as well, today is about one conversation specifically. It's about immunity. So I've got some things I've got to hit in that. Now, starting with that, what's the mission of our office? The mission of our office is very simple. It's literally to bring health and healing, healthier lives through chiropractic care and integration of the 5 essentials. That's what we do in our office. What are the 5 essentials? It's the 5 things that bring health, which is inclusive of immunity when you have your health. And we can go through that later as we go through this, but we're going to hit some things. This is non-negotiable stuff. I'm going to show you things empirically, absolutely hard road proven, that if you actually get this, people who already have the coronavirus, people who don't have it, are better off. Things that you didn't know about, like a certain vitamin that actually helps you expectorate more because the ciliated hair cells, the little hairs in your respiratory tract, move faster and clear the respiratory tract. And if you didn't have that, you actually might not survive where you might if you did have that. Like every single person watching this right now, before I even go further, if you're watching this on a link or a social media site where you can share this, I want you to share this before we go any further. You have friends, you have family, you have loved ones that I believe this is life-saving information. And if they miss this, they miss this. Some of you guys have already reached out to thousands of people. It's a good time for a reminder to say, hey, remember that thing I talked about? It's right now. So let's just start. Not to talk too much about the virus, but let's just start. What about, so the World Health Organization said that this was a pandemic, again, starting about whatever, 40, 50, 60 days ago, okay? In saying that, what they said was that this was a widespread disease affecting many people, okay? And oddly enough, not this, but a type of coronavirus has been studied since the 60s. Am I saying it's the same one? No, I'm not saying it's the same one. In fact, viruses, they literally mutate through the DNA constantly, right? So if it was the same one in 1960, it still wouldn't be. That's not the point. The point is, our 20% of all colds are coronaviruses, which means this is not some kind of alien being. This is not some kind of weird thing. Your body knows, and if you're not a newborn right now, it's already seen viruses similar to this, which means there's a type of immunity that should have already started happening already, okay? That's the first thing I want you to get. And again, regardless of what you think about this virus, the outbreak has sparked overwhelming fear, anxiety in our populations, causing businesses, schools, sports, events, concerts of all kinds of shut down, toilet paper and tissues and hand sanitizers flying off the shelf, literally. And the more we're in fear, it's leading to more panic, more unrest with our population. And what I can tell you is the amount of suicides, the amount of child molestation, the amount of abuse, the amount of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, the amount of people that need medical care and aren't getting medical care as a result of being scared and being in their house, huge. The amounts of depression, like the things that I'm talking about, they have a lifelong consequence. You know, somebody molesting you as a child because their parent is drunk and not getting a paycheck at home, that is literally a lifetime event that's going to affect you forever instead of a seasonal virus. And so I don't mean to make light of this, but the coronavirus itself, I had a conversation with an epidemiologist about a month ago, who I'm very close with, who told me emphatically and data assuredly that this is going to kill over 2 million Americans, of which I said, no, it's not. And she said, you know, are you sure about that? And again, I'm very sure, but you have one person that's what they do for a living, and they're looking at data and models, et cetera, and I just stood because I know patients. I'm in the trenches. And so guess what? Now you're seeing all the models, all of them, completely fall apart. And we're looking at somewhere between, whatever, 35 and 62,000, something like this, which in 2017, 2018, that's how many people died of the flu. And we didn't close everything down. We didn't cause children to get abused and wives and people to get abused and become drug addicts. and literally do all these things because of this. And so that's all I'm going to say about the coronavirus today, because it's not about the coronavirus. What it is about, it's about literally immunity. So how do we get into that? Well, let's have some perspective first, okay? First of all, there's a lot of different things that you need to know. For the annual flu deaths year to date, I actually made this earlier today. So the flu deaths worldwide were 156,584. Got it? Now, the COVID death rate right now, year to date, is at 209,000. So you go, well, look at that. It's killed more. Well, first of all, they're not diagnosing anybody of dying of the flu anymore. If you look right now, almost nobody is actually dying of the flu. Why is that? It's completely disappeared. It's a great year for the flu. No, it's not. It's because everybody's getting diagnosed with COVID. We've had patients go to the hospital with a headache and get diagnosed with COVID. We have families in our network. We have hundreds of offices. We have families in our networks that literally are suing hospitals because their family member who died, and is completely documented, they died from their cancer they had been fighting for years, died of cancer finally, and then on the death certificate, they literally put coronavirus, COVID-19 death. And we can talk about the reasons why. I mean, they get paid more directly and faster from the government, and hospitals are hurting for money. We literally had one nurse quoted in saying, when asked why they did that, it's because that's how we're funding the hospital right now. And so there's a lot of reasons. But if you look at this, annual flu deaths worldwide are 650,000. Heart disease, 650,000. Cancer deaths right now, year to date, 2.6 million. Malaria, year to date, right now, today, 315,000 people. Suicides. Do you know suicides from April 3rd until today went from 280,000 to 345,000. Do you know how much a jump that is? We've had in 2008, 2009, when we had the recession then, there were 10,000 more suicides actually enacted, basically horrible, than usual because of that. And this is that's not even remotely the same. That wasn't even a blip compared to what we're experiencing now. In fact, there were 260,000 more cancers caused by the stress of the financial stress that was created during that time. And that was nothing near what this is. And so we look at what's happening here on a perspective scale. Coronavirus or COVID-19, it really is not the crazy killer. You see, right in the United States anyway, you have a 92 to 96, sometimes over 96% chance of overcoming this if you get it. If you get it. And there's a huge population of people who actually are testing positive that don't have any symptoms. I know in Washington, when they started testing people, they only were testing people that had enough symptoms to be tested. And of the ones that were tested, 91.37% of the people tested, they actually had all the symptoms, but it wasn't coronavirus. And so what I'm saying is it's a different screen. It's a different situation. And let me just talk about this for a second. What did we do? What did we actually do for COVID-19? We actually started saying, hey, and listen, I'm not even saying because we didn't see what this was, that I don't somewhat agree with doing something, right? So when they first saw this come out and they thought 2 million people were gonna die and they actually did some social distancing, I could see where maybe that was okay. But they should have yanked that back when they saw this thing coming, but they started changing the goalpost, right? And so it was just to make sure the hospitals didn't get overrun. Well, then the hospital was completely empty and they're firing people. And that wasn't about hospitals anymore. What was it about? It was about making sure that the death toll was down. But now the death toll is not down. So now what do we do? So they just keep changing the reason why we're doing stuff. And so I want to just put this up here. Here's a great study from 2018. And it says, individual preventative social distancing during an epidemic may have negative population level outcomes. What does that mean? Right there, we also show that social distancing can increase the final size of the epidemic, worsening it, increasing death rates, all of those things, if you do that. And here's the reason why. Because that does not support the conversation that we're having tonight. The conversation that we're having tonight is about immunity. Does social distancing improve immunity? Because if it doesn't improve immunity, it actually makes the whole situation worse. And epidemiologists that are worth their salt will tell you that. In fact, here we go. Let's just talk about natural immunity. Can we do that? So let's just start with this. And I'm going to show you a video here in a second that'll explain a little bit more in a simple one-on-one way so everybody will get this. And you'll never forget this video. It'll be awesome. But let's just start. Let's just start with just some simple, like a story. If you were going to take a human being, brand new baby, you wouldn't take them, wrap them up in bubble wrap, throw them in a room and go, have a great immune system over there. You wouldn't do that. Why? So here we go. This is how you build immunity. Ready? You build immunity through experience every single day. So children are constantly around other kids. They're putting stuff in their mouth. They're touching stuff. They're drinking from other people and saliva, and they're grabbing the hold of handlebars on their bike that some other kid just got on like this and then grabbed the hold of the hand. They're constantly exposed to bacteria and viruses, and in a germophobic world, going like this and like you're grossed out about that. However, they're everywhere. You are touching literally millions and millions of bacteria and viruses nonstop, and having experiences with virus and bacteria immunologically. And as a result of having an experience immunologically, your body is learning, it's developing, and it's grabbing hold of and educating itself in how to be a human being in a world full of bacteria and viruses. And guess what you find out? The more viruses and bacteria that you're around, the better your immune system is. They actually looked at people that lived in rural farming type of civil areas, and they looked at city dwelling people. And guess what they found? They found that city dwelling people had less immunity in general, less powerful, less effective immunity. And then what they did was they said, okay, let's look at the most important part of that, which is just the other than the nervous system, it's the microbiome of the gut. That's where 70% of your nervous system is. We'll talk about that, or your immune system is. That's what we're going to talk about later tonight and how we improve that. So what they found was the more bacterial bacteria and viruses that you come in contact with, the better that is. Great. Okay, so they went back to the city to say, okay, let's test the environments, because we tested the farm. It's just teeming with bacteria and viruses. Let's go back to the city. We're probably not going to find that. And guess what you found? They had the exact same viruses and bacteria. Exactly. So they said, well, then it's probably not, we can't make a correlation there. And then they did something different. They quantified the amount, not the specific types, but they quantified them. And guess what they found? In the city, there was much, much less. And in the country, in the rural areas, there were higher amounts. So what you see is the more that you're interacting with, right, the more that you're experiencing. It's like lifting a weight. If I lift this tiny little clicker like this, I do it all day long, this is the type of muscle that I get. This is the type of strength I get. But if I lift this speaker, which is kind of heavy, then I lift that all day. That's another way. And this is the type of strength that I get. Does that make sense? Now watch, take that same person. Now tell them to wash their hands 100 times a day. Tell them to clean every single surface, disinfect it of all bacteria and viruses. And you better use something that kills everything, every single thing, even if it's toxic to the person. Because we got to get rid of these viruses and bacteria, all of them, and get rid of every single one. And then watch this. On top of that, make them wear a mask, make them wear gloves, make them, now watch, a shelter at home. Stay at home. Don't be around grandparents, friends, loved ones. Don't take any, embrace. Don't touch anything anybody else did. Shelter them away. And what did you just do? You just decreased their immunological experiences daily. And that daily lifting and experience that the immune system's doing is now not there, or at least at any fraction of a level. And as a result of that, guess what you find? You have a decreasing immunity in that human being. So guess what we're going to find when this whole social distancing and shelter at home thing is done? Do you think people's immune systems are going to be better, or do you think they're going to be worse? And the answer scientifically and empirically, data-wise, not some harebrained theory, is just one thing: worse. Which, again, not to get too crazy on this, but when we actually get let loose again to go do our thing, and you have a bunch of people whose immune systems are down, could we actually see some things where people are getting sick? Yes, but the hero riding in on the white horse is not the guy with the arm jab, okay? The hero is on the inside, the power within. Got it? It always has been. You have to look here first. And let me tell you why, okay? First of all, symptoms have their place, okay? So we have to understand symptoms, okay? When you have symptoms, it's a natural part of your body having a reaction. So first of all, a fever. Is a fever a bad thing or a good thing? Well, up until Tylenol came along and educated all the parents in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, that you could start having febrile seizures at anything over 103. We wanted to make sure that we started giving everybody Tylenol. But guess what you find out? If you decrease someone's fever every time you give them a Tylenol, you increase their cancer likelihood as a parent. Did you know that when you gave your kids Tylenol for fever? So here's the thing. We did that because we were educated. We were educated by people who said that was best for our family. Just like the medical doctors 70 years ago were saying it's healthy for you pregnant women to smoke. So it really took care of cravings, right? And it's the health camels, the healthiest ones. Doctors endorsed, the American Medical Association endorsed it, right? You see that? So we learn these things about symptoms. Fevers, are they bad? No. What you find is as your fever goes up, guess what? It makes it very hard for virus and bacteria to live, and it activates your own immune system. So the worst thing you could do is hamstring your own immune system by trying to kick that thing down again. And this may sound make a bad parent out of me if you don't understand this, but my own daughter had 107 fever for a week. And guess what? She got over it. She did great. Did she have seizures? Not at all. Right? So would I ask everybody to do that? No. That's my choice as a parent. And I did that. And guess what? My daughter is awesome. And I put my kids' health against anybody watching this today because we have walked what I'm telling you out. Okay. So it's not just theory. Next is coughing. Like when you have like coughing and respiratory stuff, coughing agitates this whole thing and actually causes it to get to work, your immune system to get to work on all of these things. Also helps expectorate a lot of these different things, helps to move stuff out of the airways. Also, when you get mucus, I have people want to go get Mucinex and they run because mucus is terrible. That's like green stuff coming up. I've got to get rid of that. It's like having goo on the doorknob. Like I've got to clean everything. I want to clean my lungs. Do you know that there's what's called interferon inside that mucus? It's actually one of the things that make it a color like a yellow or a greenish. Right now, there's cancer patients paying $10,000 for an injection of that to help their immunity get over cancer. And there are people going to the drugstore right now to go dry that very same exact thing up. So having mucus, coughing, fevers, these are all good things, right? Now, here's the real thing. So if symptoms are what we want, then what is the solution? Number one, it's working with the body, okay? Number two, it's not usually drugs, okay? I'm not gonna say there's not times for drugs, but what we're seeing is, we're seeing a lot of the antivirals actually making things worse. We're certainly seeing antipyretics or fever reducers making things worse for sure. We're seeing a lot of things like flu shots actually making people more susceptible to death if they get coronavirus and more susceptible to the flu. Actually, we're actually seeing some research come out now that actually flu shots are just decreasing immunity, period. They've never been shown to actually decrease your likelihood of the flu, which is why more than 50% of Americans aren't even taking the flu shot, which is why the discussions of getting back to work when they know no one's going to take this crazy non-scientific vaccine they finally come up with for this, they're thinking about mandating it because they know no one's going to take it. So what's the solution? It's not a drug. It's certainly not into a vaccine, okay? And again, the hero in this thing is not a guy riding in with, yay, a vaccine. And here's the thing. That is the sacred cow that I'm going to hit. Now, this is not a vaccine talk. If I had 5 hours, I still couldn't describe it right. But here's the thing. And I won't go into my own personal beliefs in this. It's obviously very telling, at least my stance somewhat about this. But if you just look at flu shots in general, they have not done anything to curb it, right? And if anybody needs to see if flu shots are good or bad, or vaccines in general have issues, most people on the line are pretty polarized at this point because we've been hyper-stimulated with all this media one way or the other, okay? Whether that's at your doctor's office who've been indoctrinated into this thing that vaccines are not related to autism or anything else. Here's the thing. Whether you think you're solid, yay or nay or whatever for vaccines, I'm going to suggest that every single person, there's going to be a link on this. There's a program called The Truth About Vaccines. It's very, very well. I've never seen anything more well done about this. It's very scientific. It goes through data and research. It's very, very clear cut. I've had many people who were people I would never have thought would watch this, even this week, watch this and go, that was the most well-produced thing I've ever seen on vaccines. Thank you for sending me that. So I'm going to tell you guys, click on that link because this is not a thing about vaccines. What I want to tell you is, though, if you want to walk in your house, shelter at home, then do so. But when we have a pandemic and someone's sick, like when I was in Zimbabwe, I went and adjusted with my wife and a team there at a leprosy colony. Guess who's in a leprosy colony? The people with leprosy. The people that are sick are the ones that are quarantined. And the ones that were worried about getting it, well, maybe we shelter them, okay? But sick people are quarantined, not healthy people. Got it? If you want to shelter, great. But here's the thing, when we come out of this thing, if you really want to stick your head in the sand, when you come out, you may come out of this with less freedoms than you walked in with. And it's time to get involved. And maybe you don't want to watch a vaccine video, but if you make decisions on my freedom and the freedom of my children for the rest of their life and the freedom of other people based on an idea that your doctor told you one time was true and you didn't use your own brain, then you're not using your brain, somebody else is. And so use your freedom, right? Use your freedom still, because it's still available, okay? That's all I'm gonna say on that. So let's get into some good stuff, okay? Herd immunity versus artificial immunity. What is herd immunity? Well, up until just recently, herd immunity was 95%. Everywhere you talk to, 23 years into practice, all I heard was herd immunity. You had to have 95% of the herd have immunity before you can have herd immunity, which means whatever just was eradicated, things disappeared. And now you don't hear that. They've actually changed it out of the blue. Now it's anywhere between 40 and 60%. Well, why do you think they changed that number? They changed that number arbitrarily. And if anybody has anything other to say about that, please show me the research that shows that. But they literally changed this arbitrarily to say that now 40 to 60% of a herd, right? The guy that created this theory actually is the one that said it was 95%. The reason they changed that is because we found out now, because vaccinations to create herd immunity is not the same thing, because vaccines don't last very long. And the moment you start getting it, you start losing any, if you had at all any immunity to anything. And so that's why they quietly started increasing booster shots and those things now. But what that means is we've never achieved more than 40 to 50, maybe 60% of immunity in our population against anything ever, which means we've never had herd immunity. If that's the case, then the argument I want someone to argue with me is, then why haven't we had massive outbreaks of all this stuff again if we don't have herd immunity and never have? And the answer is because it never got rid of it to begin with. And so that's just one huge thing. What do we really need? We need herd immunity. I think it's great that we have places like Sweden and Norway. Norway actually did shelter in place. Sweden did not. And Sweden actually looked great. They did slight things, like they protected those individuals that were at risk. They wore some masks, stuff like this. But what you see is they actually stayed at work. They stayed doing their things. They had life basically as usual. And guess what you found? No difference, actually, if some difference, better than what we had here, and they didn't shelter at home, right? And you can't tell me it's because they do something different than we do, because Norway's sitting right next to them. It was very similar results. Statistically improbable it'd be different at all. And so what you're seeing is the shelter at home didn't work, because now, watch this, they will have herd immunity because they actually use the #1 virus killer on the planet to kill it. And it's not Clorox bleach. Guess what it is? It's your immunity. They used human beings that are healthy to go out do their regular daily life, touch stuff, drink stuff, go to the regular business, work, do their thing. And as a result of going about their daily life, human beings that are healthy came in contact with all the viruses, developed immunity to it. And within days, if not already, they'll be at herd immunity. And now we're lagging behind and our economy is suffering because of it. So what do we need? We need our own immunity. That's what this whole conversation is about. We need it. Does everybody understand why it's so important now? So now you get that. Again, if only half of America is properly vaccinated, where are all the epidemics? And I'm going to tell you again, click the link below later, not today, right now, but click this link later to go right to this truth about vaccines so that you can really check it out for yourself. I'm going to leave it right there. So I want you to watch this video. This video is so good. It's so telling about literally how the immune system works. I want you to watch this.
A mosquito lands on your arm, injects its chemicals into your skin, and begins to feed. You wouldn't even know it was there if not for the red lump that appears, accompanied by a telltale itch. It's a nuisance, but that bump is an important signal that you're protected by your immune system, your body's major safeguard against infection, illness, and disease. This system is a vast network of cells, tissues, and organs that coordinate your body's defenses against any threats to your health. Without it, you'd be exposed to billions of bacteria, viruses, and toxins that could make something as minor as a paper cut or a seasonal cold fatal. The immune system relies on millions of defensive white blood cells, also known as leukocytes, that originate in our bone marrow. These cells migrate into the bloodstream and the lymphatic system, a network of vessels which helps clear bodily toxins and waste. Our bodies are teeming with leukocytes. There are between 4,000 and 11,000 in every microliter of blood. As they move around, leukocytes work like security personnel, constantly screening the blood, tissues, and organs for suspicious signs. This system mainly relies on cues called antigens. These molecular traces on the surface of pathogens and other foreign substances betray the presence of invaders. As soon as the leukocytes detect them, it takes only minutes for the body's protective immune response to kick in. Threats to our bodies are hugely variable, so the immune response has to be equally adaptable. That means relying on many different types of leukocytes to tackle threats in different ways. Despite this diversity, we classify leukocytes in two main cellular groups, which coordinate a two-pronged attack. First, phagocytes trigger the immune response by sending macrophages and dendritic cells into the blood. As these circulate, they destroy any foreign cells they encounter, simply by consuming them. That allows phagocytes to identify the antigen on the invaders they just ingested and transmit this information to the second major cell group orchestrating the defense, the lymphocytes. A group of lymphocyte cells called T cells go in search of infected body cells and swiftly kill them off. Meanwhile, B cells and helper T cells use the information gathered from the unique antigens to start producing special proteins called antibodies. This is the pièce de résistance. Each antigen has a unique matching antibody that can latch onto it like a lock and key and destroy the invading cells. B cells can produce millions of these, which then cycle through the body and attack the invaders until the worst of the threat is neutralized. While all of this is going on, familiar symptoms like high temperatures and swelling are actually processes designed to aid the immune response. A warmer body makes it harder for bacteria and viruses to reproduce and spread because they're temperature sensitive. And when body cells are damaged, they release chemicals that make fluid leak into the surrounding tissues, causing swelling. That also attracts phagocytes, which consume the invaders and the damaged cells. Usually, an immune response will eradicate a threat within a few days. It won't always stop you from getting ill, but that's not its purpose. Its actual job is to stop a threat from escalating to dangerous levels inside your body. And through constant surveillance over time, the immune system provides another benefit. It helps us develop long-term immunity. When B and T cells identify antigens, they can use that information to recognize invaders in the future. So when a threat revisits, the cells can swiftly deploy the right antibodies to tackle it before it affects any more cells. That's how you can develop immunity to certain diseases, like chickenpox. It doesn't always work so well. Some people have autoimmune diseases, which trick the immune system into attacking the body's own perfectly healthy cells. No one knows exactly what causes them, but these disorders sabotage the immune system to varying degrees and underlie problems like arthritis, type 1 diabetes, and multiple sclerosis. For most individuals, however, a healthy immune system will successfully fight off an estimated 300 colds and innumerable other potential infections over the course of a lifetime. Without it, those threats would escalate into something far more dangerous. So the next time you catch a cold or scratch a mosquito bite, think of the immune system. We owe it our lives. TED-Ed is a nonprofit. If you value our work, please consider supporting it on patreon.com/TEDEd.
There you go. I'll give them their little cut at the end there. All right, what does that mean? It means that your system is awesome. In fact, I love these quotes. This Wayne Jonas, he says, the system science, this whole system of sciences basically means that you're a garden to be cultivated rather than a car to be fixed. You are a whole ecosystem that has to be looked at as a whole, not one little part. That's what the immune system is, which means you can't just do it from one thing. You got to do it from all aspects, which is where we're starting into next. And I love this. This is the developer of chiropractic. It says, while other professions are concerned with changing the environment to suit the weakened body, chiropractic is concerned with strengthening the body to suit the environment. I love the word suit right there because it makes me think of like Iron Man, right? So I love Tony Stark. I just watched the in-game series movie with my 10-year-old. I've just been a big superhero fan. But when I see this right here, this is what you're actually living in. And if you actually realize what God created, not to get too preachy here, but I was a lead pastor with my wife for years. I can tell you, he didn't create junk, and you're living in the greatest super suit that's ever been made. And if you understood what it did to viruses nonstop, the more you understand about it, the more it's like you're living in this right here, and there's a little sugar ant that can't even bite you, sitting down on the ground right there, and you're running away scared, screaming like a little girl. If you know how to take care of the super suit, you don't have to worry about it. And so let me show you how to do that. Here's the thing. If there's a problem with the super suit, you got to take it back to Tony Stark. Probably nobody else can fix it. I don't take the Tony Stark super Iron Man suit to Chevrolet. They're not going to know what to do with it. And so we take it back to the design. Okay, does it make sense? You know, you can't take this and maybe that super suit that you're wearing, all of a sudden the lights go out on it, whatever else, and I can't just add a bunch of oil on it thinking, well, maybe it needs oil. That's so ridiculous. It's not scientific at all. And so the same thing happens when we just throw a bunch of chemicals at this and then just claim it's scientific. And again, I'm not against drugs as a whole. I'm not against, even, it's hard for me to say it, vaccines as a whole, I guess. Maybe the idea seems right, but the point is, you cannot get this thing healthy from outside in if there's an inside problem. So start with this first. So how do we do that? First of all, there's 5 essentials. So this is actually what we teach in all our offices, not just nationwide, but several other countries too. Core chiropractic, nutrition, mindset, oxygen, and exercise, and minimizing toxins. I'm going to go through this real fast. So verbally, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, put your seatbelts on because you ready? Because we're going to start with this. Let's just start with stress and your immune system. Okay, let's just start with that. First of all, you need to understand that stress shuts down your immune system and increases inflammation. That's what happens. From slowing wound healing to increasing your susceptibility to infection, stress is the ultimate immune decrease modulator. So it basically causes things to shut down. Literally, being in anger or stress can literally shut down your immune system in several different aspects for 24, 48, 72 hours if it's at a high enough level. And there's a lot of people that look like this in front of their computers trying to pay bills right now. And guess what's happening to their immune systems? They're getting lower and lower. And chronic stress, so, okay, a week, maybe a day, maybe, but weeks on end, literally causes the energy powerhouses of your cell, the mitochondria. They cause these factories to literally produce less and less energy, which literally causes other things to switch into place, which leads to cancer, which leads into oxidative stress, et cetera, et cetera. Now, it is reversible, but you absolutely have to go after it. This is, again, why there were 260,000 more cancers that developed during the time that we had this 2008-2000 recession, and we have got to get this thing back on track again. So what does the United States government say to do about stress? Well, they're very clear. It says, fear and worry about your health or loved ones. This is kind of what we can conclude. Changes in sleep or eating patterns. Anybody have that over the last month? Changes in sleep or eating patterns? My mom sent me the cutest little text. She goes, I think we should all wear our masks in our house, even when we're by ourselves. And I thought, why did my mom say that? And she said the next line was, to keep ourselves from eating. Because we're just stress eating and eating because we're at our homes. Like difficulty sleeping, concentrating, worsening of chronic health conditions. Of course they're worsening. You can't go to the gym. Like you can't do your regular patterns. You can't do your regular stuff. So we've got to change some things around. And you know what? We are resilient enough to do it. And you are. Every person listening, you can get through this, okay? How do we do this? Well, very simple. Just like their recommendation, it says take care of your body. Well, what does that look like? Does that mean just getting your flu shot? Does that just mean getting your cholesterol checked? Does that mean just exercising and eating right, with whatever that means? So let's just get right into it. Let's just talk about real. First of all, action steps to control stress. Right now, as we speak, you can put this in the bank starting right now. Tomorrow, it will be a better day if you actually put these 5 things in practice. First of all, Control what you control. My wife has a friend going through a hard time right now, and she gave her the greatest advice I've heard anybody give somebody advice in a long time. She told her, only go 2 steps ahead in your mind. Only go 2 steps ahead in your mind. You can't control everything out there, but if you can just control the next 2 steps, just focus and make the next 2 steps good, right? You can't control what government's going to do with money and help out with PPP and whatever, right? Paycheck protection. You can't control all that stuff. Just do what you can do, right? Next is turn off the news and social media. Turn it off, for the love of Pete. It is nothing. I don't care which version, left or right, you're watching. I don't really care which one you watch. It literally is causing more stress to you. Turn it off. Like I had my 22nd anniversary with my wife this weekend. I turned my phone off, and I did turn it back on and had 319 texts today, and that was a little stress. But turning that phone off and not being available and not watching anything, not watching videos, any videos, nothing. Man, I had a good weekend. Some of you guys need a good weekend, but you need to be mature enough to turn phones and media off, okay? Focus on truth instead of variables. What is truth? Truth in your life, the things that can be counted. What is truth? The truth is, I'm alive today. I've got a spouse, or my kids, or God loves me, or what. I mean, focus on some truths. There are things that may come down and they may not come down. There's things that may happen and they may not happen. There are things that are truth, stuff that you can stand on. And as a pastor, I would preach a whole message on it if I had time. But focus on truth. Next is practice gratitude. If you start off with gratitude, you're rewiring your brain to literally seek out good rather than find more bad. So start with gratitude. Listen, we had a little hard time last week. My 17-year-old daughter, and she's a senior. She's graduating. She's supposed to have her prom on Saturday. It was a rough time. So she was going through a hard time. And, my wife, again, the king of all good advice in my house, she said, go write down 10 things that you're grateful for. I thought, man, is there a book on parenting that she's reading that I'm like, that was brilliant. And we actually used that together. I'm like, that's just awesome. So here's the thing. Some of you guys need to, after this, sit down and write 10 things you're grateful for. You'd be surprised how much better you feel just from that. Next is have an opportunity mindset. There are people who are going to be doing better from this whole thing, health-wise, leanness-wise, physical-wise, immunity-wise, financially, everything. There are people who are going to be better off before or after this than they were before this. Is that going to be you? Well, it can happen any way that you want it to. But I can tell you, if you don't have an opportunity mindset, like you have the opportunity and you can take some opportunities on this, if it's just you're a victim and it's going to be bad for you no matter what, then like Henry Ford says, if you think you can or can't, either way you're right. And I go to the Bible, it says that as a man thinketh, so is he. That's a huge one. So again, have an opportunity mindset. If you don't know how to develop an opportunity mindset, there's books on that, right? So anyway, go back to that. So this is 5 things that will absolutely help you start, literally right now, start decreasing stress, which decreases disease rates, increases immunity. Got that? Now, next, okay? Nutrition. I shouldn't have to say this, but what some people think is nutrition is not nutrition. Some people said, I'm eating healthy. I can't tell you how many times over the last 23 years you sit down with somebody and say, no, I'm eating really good. I'm eating really good. And you go, okay, maybe a food diary, just 2-3 day food diary, just write down what you, and you get it back and there's nothing living at all. They're not eating anything alive. And dead food equals death and live food equals life. Inflammatory foods equal inflammation and decrease immunity, and non-inflammatory foods equal improved immunity and decrease inflammation. Just as simple as that. So nutrition-wise, we teach what's called advanced plan, which decreases a lot of this. Now, sugar, very simply put, sugar decreases immunity. Actually, there's studies that show that it literally shuts down phagocytosis. So like the Pac-Man you saw in that little video, shuts it down for anywhere between 30 minutes to 3 hours. It just stops. If you get enough sugar in your system, you spike that blood sugar. So what's the worst thing you could do is spike your blood sugar, whether it's from that sugar or drinking a big old thing of orange juice, which some of you guys have been taught by your medical doctor is good for you, which is not the case at all when you're trying to get your immunity back up against too much sugar. And so we got to stay away from sugar. Turns out ice cream, although it's a comfort food, may not be the answer to the coronavirus stress. okay? Sugar actually binds to molecules through a process called glycation, and that glycation process causes harmful end products called advanced glycation end products, which guess what? Hinder the immune system and trigger disease. So we got to stay away from sugar. So be looking on food ingredients list for the carbohydrates, specifically sugar, grams of sugar, and make sure you get those things down to 0 or as close as you can during this time. Next, we teach the advanced plan. I mentioned it. I'm not doing a lesson on it. We teach books on this. You can go to YouTube, to the Herb Family Wellness channel. We have over 170 free videos from makeovers to simple workshops, from everything under the sun. So just Nutrition 101 is a great one. You can go back and look at that one. But basically what an advanced plan is it's giving high fat, low carb, healthy carbohydrate, so protein, moderate protein, high fat, low carb, but like the broccoli that you see there, is broccoli carbohydrate? Is the spinach carbohydrate? Is the green apple carbohydrate? Yes, but it's low glycemic index. Does it make sense? So you want to really start leaning into that. So the less of the thing on the left and more of the thing on the right. Do you see that? Like every single thing that you see on the left is going to be inflammatory, everything, including some of you guys that still think that orange juice over there is good for you, which is all acidic and sugar. But if you actually lean into the right, what do you see over there? You see goji berries, you see blueberries, low glycemic fruits, high fat meats, you see mushrooms, and you see leeks or bok choys, and fresh kale, and you see nuts and broccoli. You see all these things, good fat like avocados. Everything that you see there is almost like creating your own supplements right there, which started with diet, right? Easy stuff. Now, let's just start with some vitamins, okay? Because right now, everybody should know, and again, we actually teach a class called Why Vitamins Aren't Enough, Why Food Is Not Enough, Vitamins 101, that, all the food that we're getting now has anywhere between 25 and 100 times less nutrients than it did 100 years ago. And that's from the US government. That's not my theory. That's the US government saying that. And so vitamin C, what is vitamin C great for? Immunity. Actually decreases length of colds, right? And what is the coronavirus or coronaviruses, the umbrella? What are those? They are cold type of viruses, which again, vitamin C helps with. This is something absolutely, this is why Linus Pauling got all kind of accolades and awards where he showed that high dose vitamin C's. In fact, actually what you're seeing is in the Orient, where they're actually having massive hotbeds, or did, and they didn't have any, quote, drugs, right? They have doctors literally gone on record saying that we had people that literally looked like the other ones that were about to die, put them on high dose vitamin C, and they literally reversed it within hours. And so I'm going to tell you one of the most important things. This is so important. Everybody needs to hear this. Every human being needs to hear this. Vitamin C. Did you get what I just said? Vitamin C. You need to be taking vitamin C, okay? But just go back to foods. Citrus fruits, great. But you know what has more vitamin C than even citrus fruits? Kale. Kale doesn't get you excited possibly, but eat it anyway, right? It's good for you. That's what your mama said, right? So eat it anyway. If you're not going to eat a bunch of kale and it doesn't have as much as it used to, and neither does citrus fruits, guess what you need? You need a supplementation, especially during this time. And the perfect thing is this vitamin C complete. Now, I'm going to just say this. I'm not here to sell a bunch of vitamins, although I want every single person to get vitamins who's listening to me, is because there's so many vitamins out there that are absolute horrific. I mean, Amazon just got caught, they're in a lawsuit because they were selling vitamins that actually had a certain amount of something like vitamin C or whatever else, and it didn't have any in it. Not just less than what it said, didn't have any in it. And you see that across the board. A lot of them don't have anything they say they had in it. And if they do have it in there, it's sometimes 100 times less than what they said. And so you have to have something that you trust. We actually went to the place that actually created our vitamins, and when it says it has a certain amount of milligrams, it has exactly that, okay? And so vitamin C, huge. Next, sunshine. Everybody should get it. I know that throughout the country this last weekend, very warm, very sunny. I had a lot of patients coming in with sunburns. Loved seeing it, not necessarily sunburn, but people that are out in the sun. Great conversion of cholesterol in your skin into vitamin D, which, by the way, if you're on a cholesterol drug, you better be taking some vitamin D supplementation, because if you're taking a cholesterol drug, you're lowering it, which is what turns into vitamin D, if you didn't know that. Also, it's made into most of your your hormones. So how do we get vitamin D? Power of the sun. Now, most of us, unless you're outside all the time, are not going to get it. 90+% of people are literally deficient in vitamin D. And there's a lot of vitamin D supplements out there, and I can't say I like any of them other than this one. There's a lot of reasons for that, but most importantly, it's because this one actually has combination with 10 billion probiotics, so that when you take it, there's an absorption rate that is second to none. I've seen people do IV vitamin D that could not get their levels up as high as this will. And so this is extremely important. There's ways to megadose if you need to do that. We're not going to talk about that necessarily tonight. If you want more information about that, you can call the office or email us at the office. But again, this is extreme. This is I put mandatory up there. This is a non-negotiable as well. Vitamin D, and this is what a lot of the hospitals and stuff were doing for patients. We're using vitamin D. Next, I said 70% of the immune system is housed in the gut. This is extremely big. Your gut contains trillions of bacteria that actually protect against pathogens. Okay, so you have heard about it, but the bacteria is not bad. Like you hear about bacteria, the first thing you think of if you're the average person, because you've been taught that bacteria is bad, we have to kill all bacteria, is that it literally is not good for you. But what you're finding is the more teeming and higher diversity levels that you have in your gut, the better that you're doing immune system wise. And here's the thing, just about everybody watching this right now doesn't have enough. Do you know if you eat anything that's a GMO food, it acts like an antibiotic. If you're around toxic stuff, if you are around cell phone radiation, electromagnetic radiation just from like TVs and computers and stuff like this, all of this stuff decreases your microbiota. It's actually just destroying it. And actually it decreases the amount of bacteria, good bacteria, and those amounts, it decreases that nonstop. And so what you have to be doing is constantly improving that and maintaining a higher amount of that. And guess how you do that? You do that by doing a supplement like this. So probiotic 50B. You can also do things that are fermented. So very healthy societies eat fermented things, fermented beets, fermented vegetables, fermented dairy products, fermentation. Now, as soon as I say fermented dairy products, like, well, I just eat yogurt. No, your yogurt has more sugar than a Snickers does and has very little healthy bacteria in it. And because of that, you're doing yourself more disservice than you are service. And so don't do that. Now, there's something to be said about doing like plain, healthy, organic Greek yogurts, which is what we do. But even that is not enough. And so this is why, again, this is something that is absolutely just, and I put optional in there, but this is a part of the package that we're offering tonight because I want every single person to get this. And so we did a package deal where you can get 5 different products for less than $95, which is less than $20 a product, which is crazy that we're doing that. But this is a really amazing product. So 50B probiotic. Now this is, last but not least, I need everybody to be talking about this. This is crazy. Okay, so vitamin A. Everybody knows that vitamin A is amazing for the immune system. This is crazy. Vitamin A, first of all, it's an immune stimulant, so it's going to help everything activate. Okay. But micellized vitamin A is different. And the reason it's different is because it helps the the ciliated hair cells in your respiratory tract. So your respiratory tract, okay, has cells just like squamous epithelial, okay? But on each single cell, there's a tiny little hair with a muscle on it. And that muscle works, and it does this in this wave pattern like this so that it moves material, mucus, and like dust and particles and bacteria and viruses and immune stuff out of the lungs and down into the stomach, where it's actually made exactly to do that. It doesn't make you sick. You have acid in your stomach that kills it. And what this does is it actually, get this, it actually makes those move faster. So that if you actually, that's why it's part of our cough protocol. Have you ever had a tickle where it's like I lay down at night and I have this tickle and I just wake up and I'm coughing? Well, that's postnasal drip. So it's actually tickling where you can feel it and it makes you cough again. And this is part of the cough protocol because it helps bring that stuff up, decreases the tickle from a postnasal drip, and helps you get rid of a stubborn cough like that. We actually, because the coronavirus came through end of last year, we sold out of this in our office probably a dozen different times because so many people had coronavirus or something that looks basically like it. And so this is a non-negotiable for all of us to be taking right now. And just so we're clear, the majority of all people are vitamin A deficient. And if you're vitamin A deficient and you can't activate your nervous system, we're in a problem already. So this is, there's a way to megadose this. I'm not going to go through that on here. It's per pound of body weight. We keep it away from our tiny little kids, mostly for younger kids up to adults, but it's per body weight, okay? And just on the back of this, it shows how to take it. Just one drop a day, not droppers full, but drip a day, and it actually helps bring those levels back up again. Make sense? But if there's a cough protocol, you can call the office and make sure you get that or send an email. So this huge component to this product. Now, last but not least, zinc. Now, here's what most people don't realize. Up to 65% of Americans are deficient in zinc. Zinc, they've created like zinc lozenges and stuff for your immunity. Everybody talks about zinc for immunity. Why? Zinc actually is a modulator for the immune system after it's engaged. So what happens is the immune system engages, okay, and it creates an inflammatory response to all this other stuff. And what it does is it keeps the immune system from actually having too much of an inflammatory response. And so what it does is it allows the resources of the immune system not to get totally utilized on one thing or two things. And it allows your immune system to act like a sniper instead of a guy with a shotgun going off half cocked all the time, right? And so it makes it specific and effective. And so you don't even know you're deficient in it. You go, well, I have pretty good immunity. Now, if the majority of people are deficient in zinc, I can almost guarantee you are too. So this is a spectacular supplement, especially through this season. Make sure that we get through this. Again, take it like it's prescribed. But there's 5 things that we're promoting here. It's vitamin C, vitamin D, probiotic 50B, the micellized vitamin A, and the zinc supreme. Everybody wants to know what's the right thing to take for immunity. If I've got symptoms, those are the things. If I don't have symptoms, guess what? Those are still the same things. Now, when you guys go in to the store and you go in to order, I want you to use that discount code at the bottom. It's 20 off, not 200. Look, you have to look close. It's 20 off. So 20 OFF. So when it says discount code, write that in, okay? Otherwise, it's gonna be much more expensive. And if you go in, you can actually find this bundle, MaxImmunity bundle, on our store, goes right to it, and you'll get all 5 of these for less than 20 bucks. And again, for you guys that are patients here in Dallas, if you stop by, you still get percentages off all the other products over the next 48 hours. So just make sure you're in the office for that. So this is the products, okay? Now let me just hit this. Being sedentary is something else. Now I need you to take exercise like a supplement. The problem with it is most people won't, okay? But let's just talk about it. Exercising right now, do you know that exercising for 5 minutes and just actually getting your breath going is actually, it's actually better at decreasing lung congestion and nasal congestion than any over-the-counter drug that you can get? Did you know that? If you've got like sinus congestion or congestion, I dare you to actually run in place for 5 minutes, get yourself out of breath, and see what happens to your sinuses, etc. You'd be surprised. Most people don't realize that. Well, I'm not going to do it because no, you need to exercise. This was the picture of my Peloton in my converted garage, by the way, because the gym was closed. I want you to look. What do you see? That thing is covered in sweat. Like I exhausted myself. And guess what? Some of you guys will actually get on a treadmill, you get on a bike, you get something, and you don't even break a sweat. Listen, that sweat, that's detoxification. So you need to figure out a way to get yourself in such a state that you're doing that. Now, you also don't want to do that for like an hour because doing that actually decreases immunity too. But we want to do that in a time frame that's enough for you, and everybody's different. You can do that in, I mean, some of you guys could do that in 4 minutes, 2 minutes, some of you guys. That was about a 27-minute workout for me. It's all I needed. And so, guys, just find something. You guys can go out and walk. Just walk. If you haven't worked out in a while, just go walk for 30 minutes a day out in the sunshine. It killed 2 birds with 1 stone, right? But exercise is something that every single person that's watching right now needs to be committed to, okay? Now, minimizing toxins is another one, okay? Minimizing toxins, there's a whole avalanche of things that I could talk about when it comes to immunity and decreasing toxic loads. First of all, having sanitizers that are toxic to your immune system, to help you get healthier and safer in a time when you need an immune system is an oxymoron. Like if you look at a hand sanitizer and it has triclosan in it, it's a liver toxin. Yeah. If you're actually using a bleach and you're actually getting it on your skin at all, or breathing the fumes of it at all as you use it, you need to know that caustic chemicals that are killing everything, if it's poisonous enough to kill a one-celled organism, it's poisonous enough to actually slightly kill a multi-celled organism. And you need to know that it's decreasing your immunity. In fact, the bleach has digoxin on it, which is one of the top 10 cancer-causing ingredients on the face of planet Earth. And so, again, we want to use more healthy things, okay? So first of all, it's a time to really start looking at what you're using. Home things, soaps, personal care products. Again, I hate to take anything else away from ladies that are sheltering at home and you've missed your beauty salons for a while. But again, you want to start using products that are more natural. Lots of different options. Dr. Kimberly last week did a workshop called Detox Your Home. You guys have every opportunity to go back and watch that. Make sure that you get that. That is a great way to tackle this specifically. And it's fun. You get to go room by room in your house and really just tackle all those things and actually make some great stuff. So that's minimizing toxins. Now, last but not least, okay, this is massive. This is for me, I go back and forth. And the reason I go back and forth is because I'm going to tell you should wash your hands, okay? The problem with it is if I tell you to wash your hands and you wash your hands the rest of your life 100 times a day, first of all, you're not going to have any skin on your hands. But second of all, you're not going to be exposed to enough germs to actually maintain a good immune system. So I'm not even saying don't wash your hands, but just to be clear, you're actually protecting yourself from more enterobacteria and things that would cause like bacterial-borne illness rather than you will from viruses. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't wash our hands and wash them regularly right now, but especially if you're immune compromised, wash them all you want. What I'm saying is there is a reason that kids that play in dirt and put toys in their mouth that other kids have snotted on have less cancer risk, have less risk of adults dying of coronavirus, and have better immune systems than anybody else. I'm not saying let's go lick snotty noses or lick doorknobs or go eat dirt. What I am saying is at some point in some level, there is a decreasing return on the investment, okay? So let's be clean. Let's do that. But let's not get crazy for the rest of our life. Can I say that? Now, I'm working in a healthcare field, so guess what? I'm about to lose my hands on this. In fact, if I see one more bottle of hand sanitizer, I can tell you this, I'm going to go nuts. Everything about our office is just completely stripped of any bacteria now. However, we do that because there are some high-risk people. And so we will make sure we keep everybody safe. So what I'm saying, wash your hands, okay? Now, let's get into this because this is what most people aren't doing. If you're a patient, this is your time to re-engage. If you and your family have not had your spine nervous system checked, you are literally endangering yourself because you do not have a foundation of health. Now, how can I say that? Of course I'm saying that because I'm the chiropractor, right? No. If I wasn't a chiropractor and I knew what I knew now, I would preach this from the mountaintops. In fact, you talk about a great laboratory. My house is the best laboratory. Go look at my kids' immune systems. Go look. My kids don't have allergies. None of my kids have allergies. How is that? It's not genetics. It's literally because my kids' immune systems are crazy good. They're never sick. They never have symptoms. Why? Because my kids know about this, and I've been taking care of their nervous systems literally since they were born. In fact, one of them was waving at me just now and wearing her unicorn nightie right there. That was awesome. Now, it's funny I was just talking about. So let's just kind of bring this up. So let me just say this. You need to understand that the foundation of health is the nervous system, controls every single thing. In fact, they literally just found, it was actually when I was in chiropractic school just recently after, that every one of your immune cells, free-floating immune cells, have neurotransmitter receptors on them, which means your nervous system directly affects literally how your immune system, the free-floating cells, how they engage, how they work, what their level is, how many come to the rescue at certain areas. Like it's literally all controlled by this. And what most people understand is you build your house on a sandy foundation or you build on a rock. Like the Bible talks about, blessed is the man that builds on the rock, right? Because if you're on a sandy foundation, it's eventually coming. Your house is coming down. These are the people that said, hey, I work out, I eat right, I exercise, I do everything right, I do everything my doctor says, and they wake up dead because they died of a heart attack in their 30s, 20s, 30s, or 40s, or they have massive breast cancer, or they have massive disease, or they have digestive diseases, all these things. And like, how did this happen to me? It's because they didn't build their foundation on a rock. And the foundation of how your body works is the nervous system. The nervous system controls every system. And that's not me. That is literally what every single medical school says. That's what they teach. It's not a chiropractic thing. That is anatomy. Okay. Now this is awesome. Chiropractic patients under care for 5 years or more have been found to have a 200% greater immune competence than those who had not received chiropractic care. If I had nothing else to say about this, get your babies checked, get your neighbors checked, make sure that your pastor, your HR department, make sure every single person goes and gets their spine checked. Now, the problem with that is 9 out of 10 chiropractors right now aren't really practicing chiropractic as it was developed. The schools have changed. I won't go into exactly why and be political, but the schools have changed to where chiropractic is now mostly known for musculoskeletal conditions. My neck hurts, crack it. My back hurts, crack it. Take my insurance and charge me for 6 visits, and that's all I want. I just want to get out of pain. That was never chiropractic. Chiropractic is about lovingly walking through life with people, adjusting them irregardless of whether they have symptoms or not, and making sure that their spine is aligned so that their nerve system is at a 100 optimal function. And thus, everything's functioning better, including, guess what? The immune system, okay? Now, this is a great history of the Spanish flu in 1918. What you see there is in red, that is the amount of people that actually got diagnosed or had the Spanish flu, okay? In the red right there, 1,635. You guys see that? Now, the number of deaths, now that actually treated by chiropractors, 1,635 patients with Spanish flu in 1918 were treated by chiropractors. This was in Davenport, Iowa. This is the birthplace of chiropractic, so there were more chiropractors there. And only 1 death. Did you get that? Now, in the same town, almost 5,000, so 4,953 people were treated by medical doctors. There was a lot more medical doctors, a lot more hospitals, a lot more clinics, and they lost 274 people. Now, if you do the math on that, that's a whole lot more per amount of people. Now, what am I saying? What I'm saying is, if people went to see chiropractors, very few people died. And this is across the whole nation. You see that in Oklahoma. You see it nationally right there. Look at that. So 46,394 people were treated by chiropractors and only 54 deaths. That's crazy. That's 25 deaths per 10,000 in there, whatever that is right there. And then in, they don't have the national numbers down, but for New York, right? Literally what you see is for every 10,000, they had 950 deaths. So what I'm saying is the history speaks for itself. If you had the flu, right, which they're saying right now, the coronavirus is somewhere about the neighborhood of the flu virus in 2017, 2018. If you had the flu, the best thing you could do is go get adjusted by a chiropractor. Why? Not because you had back pain or because you're hurting, because you're feverish or something, because it aligned the nerve system and boom, your body just went after this thing, like supercharging a car. It's awesome. Why? Because Gray's Anatomy, which is used in most medical schools, says it controls what? Controls and coordinates all organs and structures in the body. So how do I know if this thing is healthy? It's very simple. You got to look at the literal spine that's the house of it all. And that's what life is like, I can tell you. But I can tell you, I sit down with people all day long that are hurting, that are suffering, that are going crazy in their own skin because they're sitting down to the banquet of consequences of a life where they did not take care of their spine, and they lived a life medically that said, hey, give me just a drug to cover the symptoms. I don't have time for this. And as a result, they woke up at a time where now they're having to have the consequences. Don't do that. Don't do it to yourself. Don't let viruses come through and have the consequences of that. Start now. Start now for your kids. Start now for your family. What does it look like? This is what we call subluxation. Subluxation is a misaligned vertebra or several vertebrae that actually put pressure on the nerve spine. Now, everybody say subluxation. I say cancer, you know what I'm talking about. When I say subluxation, you don't know what it is. Subluxation is a movement of the spine that puts pressure on the nerve supply, changing the output or input of the nerve supply. Now, people go, well, that's not scientific. That's been disproven. There's so much out there now that's trying to disprove us, because this literally is the antithesis. This is the schoolyard bully that will put medicine in its place, because you give me 100 patients, okay, with all kind of things, and let me find their subluxation patterns and adjust them, and take another one, just 100 patients just like it, and give them to medical doctors. I dare you, bring it, because I've seen enough people to know you reduce subluxations and give me these 5 essentials, literally lives turn around. Now, critical care, you're bleeding to death, you got a heart attack you just had, you got an end-stage cancer, don't come see me. Maybe co-treat, okay? However, if it's critical life-saving, that's what medical doctors are made for, and I would not do without them. But what I'm saying is subluxation, if someone's not looking for this, they're missing it. This is awesome. Everybody needs to remember what this is, okay? There's warning signs to having it. If any of you guys watching this have any of these warning signs, you need to get checked out. You need to check your spine out. Now, I don't want anybody to wait until you have this. Waiting until you have these is like waiting for a tooth to hurt before you go to the dentist. Thing's probably rotted out this time. You may have to have a crown or have the whole thing pulled and have a plug put in, which is $5,000, $10,000. And listen, you can't just pull parts of your spine out, whether you think you can or not, based on what people are told by orthopedic surgeons and neurosurgeons. You can't do that. It's only spine you get. So if you have any of these, you're already far gone. You need to make sure that you go get checked out. Now, how do you find a chiropractor that's going to be looking for subluxation? You got to find somebody that's actually looking at the detail work. I've had 2 people here just recently who went to some of these little crack in the box, little fly by night places where you don't get an exam, you don't get really x-rays, you go in there, pay your monthly fee, and you get cracked on. And 2 of them came in with broken ribs. So don't do that for you or your children, by the way, which is probably why your medical doctor doesn't like chiropractors anyway. So if you've got any of these, make sure you have this as a high priority. In fact, actually, this probably should be a higher priority for you guys that have not been checked out than even buying your supplements. So make sure this is a priority number 1, okay? What are some results of this? Look at these guys. Not only weight loss, but doing better, feeling better, like losing weight. Both these guys doing off of medications, headaches, energy's back. The Hawks, this guy's 90 pounds down, and this part of this was in 2015, but 90 pounds down, doing great. I mean, they're working out. His wife is doing great. Their daughter's doing amazing. Again, Molly, if you're watching, I love you. But again, she was supposed to have back surgery, told nothing else they can do, and comes in. So first of all, make sure you get a chiropractic opinion if chiropractic can help you, not from your medical doctor or DO. Can I say that again? Make sure you get a chiropractic opinion if chiropractic can help you from a chiropractor and not your medical doctor or DO, right? Because like this family, they were told that nobody can help her and she needs back surgery, and she was in bad shape, and within a week or 2, she was dancing. Okay, so again, awesome stuff. And again, Hawks love you guys. So how do you do that? Very simple. Take the first step. If you click the link below, click that link, you'll literally go right to the site and it'll start the process. This is what it looks like. You'll go right to the site and you'll see this landing page, and all you do is pick a day. Pick a day that works for you, pick a time that works for you. As soon as you click a day and then a time, it'll flip over to this screen right here, okay? And this screen, you put your name in, first and last, put the email in so that we literally have this in so we can change times if we need to or get a hold of you. Also, best phone number. This is very important. We need to text you about your appointment. Everything's automated now, but we're gonna have somebody on our team call you. So if you're a guest watching right now, this is a very important moment for you. In fact, this may be one of the most important moments in your life for your health for the rest of your life. Now, if you look to the side right there, there's something very, very important. And I don't mean to make light of the patients that came in when there wasn't a discount. But usually it's $230 or $280, depending on what we're doing, for a new patient appointment in the office for exam and x-rays. What does that say? That says $50. That's US, okay? So $50 for exam and x-rays all together. Now, it's not a shell game, but it's almost a free appointment, and we only have a limited amount of these appointments. And so we need you guys to go ahead and click and make these appointments if you want them, because I cannot leave these almost free appointments forever. So we're going to give you, again, probably at 48 hours or so, unless there's special circumstances that need to be in there. But we want you to go ahead and click and make the appointment for you and your family. So what happens is, as soon as you click that, you'll go down, and you'll go down from there, and it'll literally have you enter your credit card information and run the payment, the whole thing, and everybody will be in. Now, there's 2 locations you can go to. You can go to Capel or South Lake, either one, and the hours are on there so you can see them. And so easy stuff. So that's how you make an appointment, life-changing appointment for immunity. Got it? And everything else. I love seeing people get off medications. I love seeing people get their life back, lose weight, get back to life again the way it should be. And I really think that most of us can end this time in a better place health-wise and everything else-wise. And here's the other thing. You can't afford to get sick right now. And nobody wants to go to a hospital right now either. I guarantee it. That's you. Come on. It's going to be good. Next this is what we focus on. I love it. This is my beautiful wife. Hold on. Excuse me. This is my beautiful wife, and this is what the office looks like. It's beautiful on the inside. There's great energy. I've got the greatest team ever. It's a loving place. Everybody loves to be there. It's smiling. It's not like when you go to the doctor's office, everybody's grumpy and painful and like this. It's like a utopia in there. I love it. Specific care that's customized just for you, from home care to things in the office. It's everything that we do to take care of people. And again, like I said, there's 2 locations. There's Capel and there's South Lake both. Now, as I'm finishing up here, there's a couple of things I want you guys to get. Number one, first thing we talked about as far as immunity, what was it? Remember, very first thing after the slide with all the 5 essentials, it was stress. There's 5 things we talked about. Make sure if you didn't get those down that you go back and watch this, okay? Next thing was what we went into nutrition, eliminating sugar, starting to add higher amounts of good fat, limiting any of the complex carbs and carby carbs and white things and sugary things, and high glycemic foods like the orange juices or high glycemic fruits, and getting more good green leafy things and live foods like this. Okay, that's the nutrition part, right? Then we went into some of the supplements, because we're talking about vitamins, not being enough vitamins in the food, right? So we went through those 5 things. What were they? Vitamin C was number 1. Okay, number 2 was vitamin D3. Number 3 was what? It was 50B, right? So the bacteria for your gut. So you're constantly putting in higher amounts of different varying degrees of the microbiota, the good bacteria. Number 4 was what? It was the vitamin A, micellized, so it increases the ciliated hair cells. It's stuff we use for the cough protocol, but it's great for this time of year so that we're just not having any of that stuff get in, so we don't have the opportunity to actually get some of this, the lodged viruses and stuff. Last but not least was what? Anybody? Zinc, the modulator, right, of the inflammation process. So there's not too much, so it makes the sniper, it's the shotgun wild immune system. Got it? Which again, shotgun immunity can lead to autoimmunity as well. So again, really, really, really good stuff. So those are the supplements. And again, putting those packages together, it's less than $20 for all 5 of those. And we don't do that very often. So make sure you take advantage. And last but not least, if you are a patient and you're hearing me tonight, it means that you are going to engage in your nervous system work, right? Every single person that's online right now that is a patient at a Max Living office or in my office has a customized home care exercise program, specific like a fingerprint for your spine and subluxation patterns, so that your immunity and your health is better, okay? Next is, if you are a guest, if you are a friend, and that's how you got on here, you need to make that appointment. Okay, and these are the 2 offices. This is what the front offices look like. The one on the right is South Lake. The one on the left is Capel. Both have loving, smiling teams that can't wait to meet new people and have new miracles, signs, and wonders in their office. So make sure you guys are part of that. Now, last but not least, coming up in 2 weeks, there is a talk called, it's a funny name, so bear with, but the name of the talk is called Pooptastic. And this talk is literally about how to use the one thing that we have constant access to, your bowel movements, to actually see what your health, what's going on health-wise. The health of your gut, the health of your immune system, which 70% is in the gut, the health of your digestive system as it relates to other systems, what's going on with skin, what's going on with breath, like all these different things that are related. Autoimmune and irritable bowel and all these things. There are a lot of things related to gut type activities, eczema, stuff like this, that you don't realize. And we just go to the bathroom. It sounds embarrassing, but we're doctors. We can talk about it. you go to the bathroom, flush, and you never even look, right? Or you never think about it, or you've had changes and you never thought that, hey, maybe something's going on. First sign of disease for a lot of you guys will be in your toilet and you didn't even see it. So I want you guys to make sure that you're on there, and Dr. Kimberly is going to have a lot of great information on how to maintain health by seeing that and then correct some of the things that you're seeing non-pharmaceutically, which is awesome. So funny name, serious class coming up in 2 weeks. So make sure you're on that. There'll be stuff sent out nonstop. So if you're not on our Facebook pages, go ahead and like that, because we send out stuff and reminders nonstop. If you're a guest, we look forward to seeing you. You'll get lots of stuff on that too in the office. So either way, we just can't wait to see you guys. So I went a little long because this was really important. But I just thank you guys for being online with us tonight. Thank you guys for your continued prayers and support of the mission of Max Living in changing how healthcare is viewed and delivered and saving the lives of millions. So God bless you guys. We're just going to pray it out. Father, we love you and praise you. Ask a blessing on every single person on the line in Jesus' name. Amen. Good night, everybody.